Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. We have a moon reading today, and I just go ahead and share the screen with you so you can see what's going on here. We have a dark moon, and it's really very interesting when you look at it that you can see that here the sun and the moon and Mercury are still in Leo. And when you look at the chart here, sun and moon are in third house, which is about communication, and the retrograde Mercury is in second house. So we can see that there is something really, really deep to dive into. We have to, the whole topic of the ego. The whole topic of the personality is the topic of the program, of how we are programmed. Because the ego is actually made out of our belief. What is our belief is what we've been trained, like from baby onwards. Already know our parents have been trained in the same direction, and then later kindergarten, later school. It's all within the same program. That when we blend back 1800 something, when the schools were started and taken over by the Rothschild family, and they started to take over everything. So it was a program, a very subtle program, that went over a very, very long time to program people. So in a way, we talked about that once before, that to make worker out of them, employees and workers. And this is about to take away your own creativity. When you still go back further in time, you can see that, for example, in Europe, in especially the German-speaking Europe, also France and Spain and places like that, it was very common that the people didn't go to school in that way, but they learned from their parents or from somebody else in the village. So if there was a carpenter or a butcher or a baker, whatever, the young, they went there, they learn with them for a couple of years, and that was called an apprentice. And actually that system in Switzerland still exists. So you finish school, you choose an apprentice, and you go, for example, for anything that you want to learn, you go and you work 4 days a week, and 1 day a week you go to school. And depending on what it is about 2, 3, or 4 years. And then you receive a diploma. And after that, in even further back, that's also not in my childhood so much anymore, like 50, 60 years ago. Once you finish your apprentice, you go walking. These are the wandering years, because wandering is walking. So I remember from that time very well, we had, like my father, we had a metal construction company. We had apprentices, and when they were finished, they went, like, for example, one friend of my father was in Germany, and he was actually the son of this man was, when his wandering years, he came to our company, and he was working for my father, and the fathers, they got connected and became friends. So this was kind of a very ideal situation, because those who learned something, they really knew it, and they were still creative. They were encouraged to find out things to solve problems. But then it moved more and more and more and more away from the practical work into universities. And as you all know, or colleges, that this is more or less no practical knowledge anymore. This is just bumping full your head. And I can tell you from my own experience and experiences of other people that I know, that once you have a graduate from a school or for something like that, and they want to go and work, you can't use them. They have no idea how to work. And this is one of the problems we have today, because first of all, because they went to a university, they think they're better than others. But to be honest, when I look at the efficiency of people, I have to tell you that those who had an apprentice, who learned really to work, they are much, much more efficient. And is it any coincidence that when we look at the geniuses, like, just let's use Einstein, because I know this case very well, I looked at it too, that he was kicked out of school as stupid. And this is exactly what it is. Now, when we have the school is training you to become an employee, to become a worker, to follow orders, in other words. In the very, very first school that were, they made, there was only boys and they made them soldiers. And later it became that they became workers. So the workers, they always work for some kind of a boss, and they get a little bit and the boss get a lot. So this is that modern slave system. And when we look now at this constellation, it is really to dive into what has materialized as a slave system and look at it from a different perspective. When you look at that, the sun and moon in Leo here in the third house communication is connected with retrograde Neptune. Neptune is the hidden part. So this is like really look into that which is invisible, which is actually within us. It's like, you know, when I eat an apple, the apple is not here outside of me anymore, but it is inside now, and it is in my system to digest. So it is more or less looking into what have we digested, what have we done. And this in ninth house is also, ninth house is Aries, Sagittarius is moving beyond the boundaries and moving beyond. So go down deep. I mean, go look into what really happened in my life. How much of my life energy did I give away? If I'm an employee somewhere, just think about it. How much does my boss or the company or whatever earn money off of me? And how much do I get? So the moment that we can take that power back, and this is about the idea also of small business, because it is not about that there are no employees, because not everybody is made as a leader, as a boss, to lead people on. But it is like when it's in a small frame, it is still, you can overview it, you can see it. And I remember in my the company of my father, they had about 8, 9 workers, something like that. It was very personal. We knew everybody, even we kids, we knew everybody. And when I was smaller or during holiday, I was working with them in the workshop. I was drilling holes and I earned my first money like that. So also the kids, they are trained and they're educated to become very practical. So today, whenever something is to fix in the house or whatever, a lot of things I can do myself. If you look at those graduates from schools, no matter what kind of school today, who have never really worked, if a cable's kaput, they have no idea anymore what to do. Or if it's a shortcut, a short in electricity, or if they don't even know anymore to find the switch, what to do. So we have become very, very unpractical, and the younger generations are really affected from them. Now, when you look at the retrograde Mercury in Leo, that means go beyond all the programs, go beyond all the programs that define your ego. And then here we have an opposition going to retrograde Saturn, and both are retrograde here, Aquarius, Leo. And we see here again the higher self and the ego. That is like the confrontation between what is really myself, and when Saturn is involved, you're forced to do it. In an opposition anyway, there is no way that you can avoid it. And, you know, we say very often with Saturn, the one who is not handling himself, he's being handled. So it's better if you do something yourself, and then it's more easy for you to go through the process. The interesting thing is what we have in SkyView, because the signs are not the same size. You see smaller and bigger. So we have the moon Sun conjunction of dark moon in opposite to Neptune in Pisces. And again here, you know, Pisces is the hidden part of our world, and ego here, Leo, is still about the program. So once we find the program, we can delete it. It's same like in computer or whatever. If you find the fault, or if you understand the program, or you have somebody to help you, you can delete the program and you can overwrite it with something different. And again, I don't want to say the ego is bad. And very often we make a very rash decision about that. Oh, I cannot use my ego anymore. No, that's not true. The ego is important. The ego, the brain, is how we function here. But the brain is like the computer. You know, again, don't let the computer run you. You run the computer. And you decide which program you want to use. And in a way, we can say we all function on some kind of programs, but the programs that we are still functioning on are old. We have to let them go. And now is the time. See, we have 7 retrograde planets here. Everything's going kind of backwards. You know, a planet is not really going backwards, but because the sun is in the center and we are the earth, and the circle around from the other planets, from the vision of the earth, becomes an ellipse. And so sometimes it looks like they would go backwards, but in fact they're not. But this is what it is, looking from the point, the perspective of the earth. And so this is a different energy. The energy is kind of going backwards to a certain point and then coming forward again to, and it will touch that point to go again from the moment where it went backwards. And that is reactivating something that we can see. So when the planet is going backwards, there is always a moment or a day or more that the planet is stable, kind of standing still from our point of view, and then going forward again and coming to the point where it turned retrograde. So in this period is actually the period where we have the biggest chance to find out what is really inside of us, to find like this is the engineer going into the machine. Like imagine a ship and you go down into the belly of the ship and you check all the engines, the oils and everything. This is the time to do that. So we are going now into that engine and find out everything what is not proper, functioning proper. And this is also why we have a lot of issues with healing in the moment. We can see that there are 4 planets that are not retrograde: the Sun, Moon, Venus, and Mars. And when we look from Venus, we have a trine going to retrograde Chiron. When we look from Sun and Moon, we have a trine going to retrograde Uranus. And Mars is connected with a sextile to Venus. So we can see here in these figures, we can see exactly what's going on. So our sun, moon, our female, male part, our mind and our feeling, our program and our creativity have a blue line to retrograde Uranus still in Aries. That means if we are touching those boundaries, and if we dare to go beyond, that it will open us a complete new avenue where we can go. It gives us complete new chances. And I have many, many times in my life experienced that when I was willing to give up something, when I was willing to move on, there was a door, and the door came relatively fast, that something was offered in my life what I wanted. But again, we have to be clear about that, that we don't just fall back into another program. For example, if you have a job in a certain business and you're not happy there, and you're a baker, for example, then you just take on a job in another bakery, that won't do the trick, because it's the same. And maybe if you have problem with somebody there, with person, or you develop an allergy or something, you cannot just change the job. You have to go and look into what it is really what you want. But again, the program does not allow us to really see what we want, we always think what others want from us. It is always important for most people, what do others think of me? How can I be successful in the eyes of others? And this is horrible. Because actually, you know what, at the end, when you die, in the end, when you leave this body and move on, you're alone. And you're there with your entourage, with your upstairs team, but nobody else's. And when you are looking back at your life, the only thing what matters is what you did, what you thought, not what others thought. So let go. It's I remember a little clip that one guy, some famous whatever guy, said, it's even not your business to know or to worry about what other people think of you, because that's their own, because that's their mirror, because you reflect something to them where they have either a problem or they're happy with. Like somebody fall in love with you, that means that this person wants something that you have. Or if somebody hates you or doesn't like you, that means that you have something within you that this person actually does not like within him or herself, and you reflect it to them. So this is very important to understand. So what is going on here? The trines are gifts. So once you listen to your own soul. See, here we have Cancer on the AC. We have here Venus. This is actually your soul. This is the divine. This is spirit over matter here, in trine to Chiron, the healer, and connected with Mars, which is your life energy. So if you start to feel within yourself who you are and what you want, you are rewarded with more energy in life. And here from Sun Moon again, we have also Venus, we have also like Venus Mars, we have female and male going up to retrograde Uranus. If you are reconnected with the divine within, and not any god or goddess or religious whatever messiah, but just within, because it's not a person that is like, it's not Jesus coming back, it is the Christos, the anointed one that awakes within ourselves. We become the Christos. It is, we become the Christ. It's not that another person is coming to be the master for humanity again. This is that we master our own self with capital letter, meaning be connected, reconnected with the divine within ourselves. And then also the goal to reach is here with Pisces, with the Chiron, the goal that we have to reach is to heal. And again, I gonna have a workshop on healing this weekend, and it is very important and very difficult to understand. We can say curing versus healing. Curing is when we do something with the body, we give some chemicals or do some any other things with the body, but healing has nothing to do with curing. And if you want to really heal, the healing is between me and my soul, ego and higher self. And the moment we are aligned, the ego and the higher self, they are aligned together to work together, to function together. Our body will not show illness symptoms. So in fact, we can say we are all sick. Everybody on the planet in the moment in this situation is sick because we have some kind of symptoms. And these symptoms show in which field we are not completely connected with the higher self. And the same is also in the moment, and I mentioned that before, that many of us have agreed to help to heal ancestor lines, to redeem our ancestors from this harmony, this imbalance that could not be balanced at that time. Now just look at what time we are living. We are living now in the time of the shift. People who lived 50, 100, 200, whatever years ago, they were not able to do it. Even if they were from a very, very high consciousness, the consciousness could not reach them because the energy around us was so low. So now we are, in a way, we can say, really the blessed ones to move forward, because the consciousness is shifting. And the more the consciousness is shifting, we can shift with it. And in this way, heal ourselves, even if the body is not completely healed yet. Some people will stay here, they will heal, they will rejuvenate, they will stay, and some people, they will move on and come back. And this is like, the transition is not happening in just a couple years. The transition is happening in a long time. It is a period of, like Crayon said, 36 years. I hear other things that they say it's like 18 years before 2012 and 18 years after. That will be at the end of 2030. And interestingly, some goals of the Cabal elite are pointed towards 2030, and that has something to do with this period. So anyway, some people say it's 50 years, but I think when we look at the whole story, and 2030, not everything will be changed, and there will be still more negative energy and more positive energies. It is a slow progress, because otherwise we couldn't survive it. Because our body could not survive the energies that become higher and higher, and in a way it's like you turn off the volume strong and strong and strong. At one point our ears cannot hear it anymore, or they go kaput. So this is the same here. It's like slowly, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and our body's changing. So many of you know also symptoms that are connected with the change, that are symptoms, for example, sometimes dizziness, or sometimes even lostness, that in a moment you just like, you come back from a dream, problems with the eyes, problems with hearing, or that you suddenly hear tones that you haven't heard before, or that you suddenly, when you focus, that you can see auras around trees, around plants or people. There are many things that are happening, and this is very individual. But what is happening for the whole world and for everybody now, if I look here at the world horoscope, now it is time to move beyond the ego, beyond being controlled by the ego, beyond being just employees of somebody outside, meaning somebody else telling you what to do. And this doesn't matter. This, if it's your boss, or if it's in religion, is a church or a temple or whatever, you have now to dive within the divine that you have within. And from that point on, the true healing start to take place. Once you let go of everything what you have learned, the most important thing, is say, oh, but I learned so many beautiful things, and that's right. And they were absolutely accurate in the time when you learned it. But at one point, you move beyond. Like when you learn in first grade something, second grade, whatever, when you're at university, you don't do the same thing anymore, because you grow beyond. And that's exactly the same. The moment we become more mature as spiritual beings, then we can say what we did when we were still, say, more ego human. We don't do it anymore, because it simply doesn't suit us anymore. So this is a couple weeks that it's very powerful, that we can really put our focus on dreams, for example. I had very vivid dreams in the last couple weeks, and I have a feeling, even if I'm not completely clear what happened, but sometimes I wake up like nearly nightmares. I mentioned that before, and then something is resolved, it's gone. But the thing is, I feel good afterwards. It's not that I am very sad or something, but I feel relieved. And if you have that you still see some problems in your life consciously, for example, that you can see this is this is still a problem, then when you go to bed, ask for dreams or for answers. And your upstairs teams will definitely give you answers in what form that you have to find out yourself, but just be alert. Things will happen and things will change. And you will see that many things in your life will become much more easy, more clear. And if you're willing, like if it's time for you to move on to another job or whatever, there will be an opportunity that is presenting itself to you. You don't have to go and look for. Just be careful that you listen what your inner voice is saying. And if somebody, a person, says something to you and it does not feel right, but even if this is a person you love or a person you respect, don't adapt what they say if it doesn't feel right, because they are not you. They have not walked in your shoes. Your life is only completely individual. Nobody ever has walked in your shoes, does have your background, does have your knowledge, your experience. Only you have that. And so you have to connect with your heart, with your center, the heart that is, we can say, the connection from the ego self with the higher self, or the ego self and the divine self. And when you listen, things will become easy. I hope that helps a little bit for the understanding what energies we have in the moment, what's going on. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. And then if you have questions, please write them down in the comment section. There you also find my contact details. I see you soon again with my next reading. Take care. Have a good week. Bye-bye.